Hi everyone, welcome to today's practice. Let's get right into it. We're going to start in Shavasana. So just lay down on your mat. You can have the eyes closed here if that feels comfortable for you. And we'll take our first few minutes here just to settle into this practice. So on an inhale, let's breathe in through the nostrils, allow the air to fill up your lungs, and then exhale out through the mouth. Repeat that again on an inhale, breathe in through the nostrils, and exhale to release. Now we'll start to bring in some movement into our bodies. So let's start by bending into the right knee and taking it into the chest. And just hold it here for a moment and notice what changes or shifts in your body as you do this. Now with the left hand, we're going to guide that right knee over to the left side. Now it can either come down to the ground or you can place a block underneath the knee for additional support. Let's bring that knee back into the center and we'll switch legs. So straighten the right. Now we bend the left knee and bring it into the chest. And now using the right hand, let's guide that left knee over to the left side. Still continue with your deep breathing while we're here. Now let's take that knee back into center. And now we'll bend into both knees and do some rolls with our knees. So we'll go in one direction just to help open up the hips. And then once you've done a few rounds, you can reverse the direction and go the other way. Now from here, let's grab hold of our hamstrings and we'll rock back and forth on our mats and build enough momentum so that we can come up into a seated position on the mat. And from here, we'll open up our upper body. So let's start with some neck rolls. So take the chin down to the chest and then bring the left ear over to the left shoulder. Let's bring the chin back down to the chest. And then we take the right ear over to the right shoulder. Repeat this a few more times. So take the chin down to the chest and bring the head over to the left. And then roll it back down, bring the head over to the right. Do a few more rounds following your own rhythm and pacing. And then the next time that your head is over on the left side, let's hold it there. And we're going to take the right hand and bring it over to the left side. So my left forearm comes down to the ground, or you can use a block and place it underneath the forearm. Just make sure both of your sit bones are resting on the mat as you turn the chest up to the sky. Now let's drop that right hand on the left side and we take the left hand to the back of the mat for a twist. So we're just gently opening up our body so you don't have to twist too far. And now return back to the front and we repeat on the other side. So tilt the head over to the right side. This time we take the left arm up and over to the right. Think about reaching out through the fingertips while you're here. And now let's turn towards the right. The left arm rests on that right thigh. We take the right hand back and we look towards the back of the mat. Turn to face yourself back to the top of the mat. Now let's interlace our fingers behind us and send the hands down as we open up the chest and lift the chin to the sky. Now let's release the hands. We round the spine as our arms come forward and round out in front of us. Now we drop the hands to the mat and then walk them forward so that we completely round the spine and allow our head to hang heavy. Now let's roll ourselves back up. We're going to come onto our hands and knees now. So we'll meet in a neutral tabletop position. So our hips are over our knees, shoulders are over the wrists, and we'll press into the left hand to lift the right arm up to the sky. Feed it through the left side as you bring the side of the head down to the mat. Let's press back into that left hand to lift that right arm up once again, and then drop the right hand down to the mat. This time we press into the right to lift up the left arm to the sky, and then feed it through to the right side as you bring your head down to the mat. And once again, notice what's shifting in your body as you go through these poses. Try to breathe into any spaces that are holding any tension. Let's press into the right to lift that left arm back up and then drop the left hand down to the mat. Now let's start to take some intuitive movements here. So just start to move your body. Once again, notice where there's tension and just try to add some additional movement into these spaces. Allow your body to flow as it needs to in this moment. Good, and now let's tuck our toes underneath us so we can lift the hips up and back to come into our first downward facing dog. So again, it's the first one of the practice, so do any additional movements that you may need to open up the body. And let's come to find some stillness here. Now let's look towards the top of the mat and walk the feet to the hands. So on an inhale, let's press up to a flat back. Exhale to release the chest back down, and then ground through the feet. And on an inhale, let's come up to a standing position with arms coming up overhead and bring palms down through heart center. Let's do some sun salutations. So on an inhale, let's reach up to the sky, and exhale, we fold, hinge at the hips. On an inhale, come up to a flat back once again. Exhale to release the hands down to the mat. We step back into a plank pose. You could come down to your knees here, bend at the elbows to lower yourself down. And on an inhale, let's press up to cobra or upward facing dog. Then release the chest. Press into the hands and feet to send yourself back into your downward facing dog. Hold it for a moment and then look towards the top of the mat and walk the feet to the hands. On an inhale, we press up to a flat back. Exhale to release the chest to the thighs and then ground through the feet before coming up on an inhale. Hands pressed together and come down through heart center. Let's go again. Inhale, we reach up, and exhale, we fold. On an inhale, come up to a flat back. Exhale to release the chest, the hands meet the mat, and we step back into our plank position. Let's lower down through our chaturanga, then slide the chest forward and up for upward facing dog or cobra, and then press back into your downward facing dog. Let's look towards the top of the mat once again, then walk the feet to the hands. Let's press up to a flat back. Exhale to release the chest and then ground through the feet before coming up on an inhale. Press palms together, bring them down through heart center. One more time. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, we fold. Inhale, come up to a flat back. exhale to release the hands meet the mat. Let's step back to a plank. You could still come to your knees here. We bend at the elbows to lower down, then send yourself up to an upward facing dog or cobra, and then press back on an exhale to your downward facing dog. Take a moment here to reconnect with your breath. Now let's take that right foot into the sky for a three-legged dog. So the hips are square here to begin. And then on an exhale, we'll bend into that right knee to open up the hip. Make sure that your shoulders are still square to the top of the mat. On an inhale, let's send that foot or straighten that leg once again, square the hips. And then we bend into the chest on an exhale. Place that right foot down on the mat as you lower your left knee, and then swing the arms forward and up to come into your low lunge. Think about sending the hips forward here and make sure that right knee is directly over that right ankle. And shoulders are away from the ears. Now let's twist towards the right side as we lower the arms down to shoulder height. Still think about sinking deeper into the hips. And now let's drop that left hand down to the mat. We bend the left knee, and if you can reach, grab hold of that left foot with your right hand. While we're here, we're still thinking about twisting over to the right and sending the chest up to the sky. And again, you don't have to have hold of your foot here. This is just an option. Let's release that foot, press into the left hand and the left foot to lift that left knee off of the ground now, and we send the right arm into the sky. And once again, you can still have the left knee resting on the ground if you prefer. Now let's take that right hand, bring it on the inside of the right foot, and then we're going to twist or turn our hips and chest to the long edge of the mat to come into our Skandasana. So you can use a block here and place it underneath you if you want the additional support. But while we're here, we're thinking about turning the chest once again to the sky as we sink into those hips. And while we're here, we're thinking about elongating the spine so that it's not rounded, and that's where a block can be useful here. Now let's turn ourselves back to the top of the mat. We're going to walk our right foot out to the outer edge of the mat to come into our lizard pose. So you could take any variation here that you like. So if you want to come down to your forearms or on a block, you can do so, and you can have the left knee resting on the ground as well if you like. You can see I'm adding some movement here to my lizard. But once again, consider what your body needs in this moment and then give it that. Now let's press into the hands to send that right foot back, keep it lifted, and then we bend at the elbows to lower ourselves down, slide the chest forward and up to come up to upward facing dog or cobra, and then press back into your downward facing dog. Now let's repeat on the other side. Let's take that left foot into the sky and hold it for a couple of breaths. Make sure the hips are square, and then on an on an exhale, we bend into the left knee to open up the hip. Let's straighten that left leg once again. And now on an exhale, we bend the knee, send it forward to the top of the mat so we can place that foot down. And then we rest the right knee on the mat as we swing the arms forward and up to come into our low lunge. Think about pressing those hips forward towards the top of the mat and reaching out through the crown of the head and the fingertips. Now let's turn ourselves towards the left side as we lower the arms to shoulder height. And once again, we're still thinking about reaching out through the crown of the head as we twist towards the left side. Now let's drop that right hand on the mat. And if you're taking this option, let's bend into the right knee to grab hold of the foot with the left hand. Now release the foot if you had hold of it. We're going to press into the right hand and lift our knee off of the mat so we can send that left arm into the sky. And while we're here, still think about reaching out through those fingertips as we twist to the left side. Now let's drop that left hand on the inside of the left foot. As we do so, we turn ourselves over to face the long edge of the mat to come into our skandasana. So once again, you can use a block here underneath you if that will help you to elongate the spine and reach out through the crown of the head. While we're here, we're still thinking about turning our chest up towards the ceiling. Now let's turn ourselves back towards the top of the mat, and now we walk that left foot to the outer edge of the mat to come into our lizard pose. And once again, you can take any variation of lizard that you like. Find the one that works for you today on this side. I invite you to explore your body in this pose. Now press into the hands to send that left foot back, and then let's go through our vinyasa. So press yourself up to cobra, upward facing dog, and then press back on an exhale into your downward facing dog. Good. Take a couple of breaths here. Reconnect back to your breath. Now let's lift that right foot once again into the sky and send that foot forward towards the top of the mat. We rest it on the floor as we send the arms forward and up to come into our high lunge. So once again, check to make sure that your right knee is directly over that right ankle. And think about elongating out through your spine and the crown of the head. Now from here, we open up the hips and chest to the long edge of the mat. As we do so, we drop that back heel down and lower our arms to shoulder height to come into our warrior two. So our gaze is forward and just past the fingertips. Now let's straighten that right leg, and then we're going to bring our right hand down either to the mat or to a block if you want to bring the floor a bit closer to you as we reach that left arm into the sky. We come into our trikonasana. And while we're here, think about elongating out through both sides of the torso so that you're not crunching in to the right side. Let's bend back into that right knee and swing the left arm down and around so that the left bicep is by the left ear to come into our side angle pose. So you can see I'm doing the variation where I have my forearm resting on my right thigh, but you can also have your right hand down on the mat or on a block. Now let's come up and we reverse this. So windmill the hands towards the back of the mat. If this is too much for you, you can also straighten your right leg here. Again, find what works for you and your body today. Now let's windmill the hands towards the top of the mat, lift that back heel off, press into the hands, and let's go through our vinyasa. So lower yourself down to come up into a cobra or upward facing dog, and then push yourself back into your downward facing dog. Take a moment to reconnect back to the breath, and we'll repeat that on the other side. So this time we lift the left foot up, send it forward towards the top of the mat, and swing the arms forward and up to come into your high lunge. Now let's open up towards the long edge of the mat. We drop that right heel down on the mat. Arms come to shoulder height. Gaze is forward just past the fingertips. And while we're here, make sure that your shoulders are directly over your hips so that you're not leaning forward or backwards. Now let's straighten that left leg, and we bring that left hand down to the ground or to a block as we lift that right arm into the sky. Now let's bend once again into that left knee. We swing the right arm around and up so that the right bicep comes by the right ear. And once again, your hand can either be on the mat or on a block, or you can have the forearm resting on your left thigh. You can also take a bind here as well if that's part of your practice. And now let's come up, windmill the hands towards the back of the mat. Again, you have the option to straighten that left leg if you prefer. But no matter whatever variation you are taking, just think about seeing how far back you can reach with those left fingertips. Now let's windmill the hands towards the top of the mat, press into the hands, send that left foot back and go through our vinyasa. Bend at the elbows to lower down. Come up into a cobra or upward facing dog, and then press back into your downward facing dog. Take a couple of moments here to reconnect back to your breath. Now look towards the top of the mat and walk the feet to the hands. On an inhale, send the hands to the shins to come up to a flat back. And then exhale to release the chest to the thighs. And then from here, walk the feet in so the big toes are touching. Inhale, we take a big bend in the knees and swing the arms forward and up to come into a chair pose. So make sure your core is engaged here. And then transfer your weight over to the right foot and see if you can lift your left foot off of the mat. And then send that left foot towards the back of the mat to come back into your high lunge. Still think about sinking into the hips here. See if you can go a little bit deeper. And then send the hands down to the mat. We'll walk the hands forward to transfer our weight over to the right foot. Then take a bend and then straighten that left leg. We'll take another bend into the knees here. And then straighten that leg, send it up to the sky. And one more time, bend into the knees. And then straighten that leg, send it up. See how much height you can get out of that left foot while you're here. Make sure that right leg is straight. Now let's lower that left leg so that it's about parallel to the mat. So do so we flex that foot And then we're going to come up into our warrior three. So you can see I'm taking my hands off of the mat, but you could also send your hands towards the back of the mat or bring them out forward in front of you. You also have the option to have the hands rest on the mat or on a block too if you're working on your warrior three. But now everyone come to lift yourself up. We're going to slide that left foot through and then bend into the left knee. Hold yourself here, engage your core as you find your balance, lift out through the crown of the head, and now take that right hand on your left shin and send the left arm towards the back of the mat. See if you can look towards the back of the mat or at your hand. But again, this is just an option. See what you want to play around with today. And then take your gaze forward towards the top of the mat once again. And now we're going to extend that left leg out in front of you as you take your arms into the sky. Good, and then from here, let's lower that left leg back down. Let's do a sun salutation. Reach the arms up on an inhale. Exhale to fold. Press yourself up into a flat back. Then bring the hands to the mat as you step back to a plank pose. Lower down through your chaturanga, then bring yourself up to an upward facing dog or cobra, and then send yourself back into a downward facing dog. Well done, everyone. We're going to repeat that on the other side. So first, take a moment to reconnect back to your breath. Then look towards the top of the mat and walk the feet to the hands. On an inhale, we press up to a flat back, and then exhale to release. Let's walk the feet in together, and then on an inhale, take a big bend in the knees as you swing the arms forward and up to find your chair pose once again. Remember to engage the core here, and think about there being a long line from your sit bones all the way out through the crown of the head. Now let's transfer the weight over to the left foot this time as we lift the right foot. And then send that foot towards the back of the mat to come back into your high lunge. See if you can sink a little bit deeper into your hips here. Now let's bring our hands down to the mat. We transfer the weight over into that left foot so we can lift the right leg up. And then we bend both knees, bring them together, and then send that right leg up into the sky on an inhale. On an exhale, we bend into the knees and then send the foot back up. One more time, bend into both knees. And then send that leg straight up into the sky. Now hold it here. See how much height or lift you can get out of that right foot. And now let's lower that right leg down so that it's about parallel to the mat. As we do so, we flex the right foot. And again, find the variation of warrior three that works for you. Just make sure that your hips are square here and you're engaging your core. As you root down into that left foot. Now let's bring ourselves up. As we do so, we bring that right foot towards the top of the mat, bend into that right knee, and then hold it here. Now let's take that left hand to our shin as we bring that right hand and extend it towards the back of the mat. You could see I fall out of it. That's completely fine if you're falling out of it too or are wobbling. That's all part of the practice, so just get right back into it. Now let's turn our gaze towards the top of the mat. Now we extend that leg out in front of us as we lift our arms up to the sky. See how much height you can get out of that leg. And then release. Let's bring the foot down. Let's reach up on an inhale and then fold on an exhale. Bring yourself to a flat back, then release. Send the hands to the mat as you step back to plank. Lower yourself down through your chaturanga. Slide yourself up to upward facing dog or cobra and then press back into your downward facing dog. Hold it here. Once again, reconnect back to your breath if you lost it. And now let's bend at the knees to lower ourselves down to the mat, and we'll press back into a child's pose. So I'm taking a closed-legged variation with my knees together. You could pick a wide-legged variation if you prefer. Just make sure that you take these moments here to reconnect back to your breath and reset. Bring yourself gently back up. And then we're going to swing our legs around so that they're out in front of us and we're seated on the mat. Keep the legs extended, feet are flexed, and on an inhale, we'll reach up with our hands or our arms and then fold over both legs. So you can make this an active or passive variation. If you're wanting this to be more passive, think about rounding the spine. Otherwise, if you're taking the more active one, think about elongating the spine. Let's lift ourselves up, and now we're going to bend into the left knee. Bring the sole of the foot on the inside of that right thigh. Then reach up and then fold over that straight leg. And if you'd like some additional support here, you can use a block and place it underneath the leg. Or if you want the additional support for your knee, you can take a block and place it underneath the knee. And while we're here this time, try to take an active version. So try to think about elongating your spine. And let's bring ourselves back up. From here, we'll adjust ourselves. So we take that left foot into the pelvis and we reach out with the left arm and then bring it up and over so that you try to touch your right foot. And while we're here, we're opening up the chest to the ceiling once again and reaching out through those left fingertips. Now let's take that left hand, bring it behind us, and then press into the left hand so you can lift the hips off of the mat and send it forward as you bring that right arm towards the back. So we're coming into a half wild thing here. So think about arching your spine as you send your hips forward. And then gently bring yourself back down, release the hips back to the mat. And now we'll bend our right knee so that we can take our left ankle and rest it on top of the right knee. And then from here, we're going to bend our elbows out in front of us and then bring your right elbow on top of your left one. And now the palms can either touch or the back of the palms can touch one another. On an inhale, we're going to lift our elbows up a couple of inches. And on an exhale, we release the elbows down. Inhale, reach the elbows up. And on an exhale, release the elbows back down. Now let's unravel our arms, unravel the legs, and then send the legs back out in front. We take a quick fold to reset. Lift yourself back up once again and we'll repeat on the other side. So this time we bend into the right knee, bring the sole of the foot so that it touches the inner left thigh, and then reach up on an inhale and fold over that left leg. Once again, think about elongating the spine. And then slowly start to bring yourself back up. Let's bring that right foot closer into the pelvis. So we open up to the long edge of the mat. Now we take that right hand out and then reach it all the way towards the top of the mat and towards that left foot. Let's lift ourselves back up. We bring that right hand down behind us, and then we press into the hand to send our hips forward as we take the left arm towards the back. Once again, we're thinking about arching our entire spine here and sending those hips forward. And then gently bring yourself down to the mat. We turn to face the top of the mat once again. Now we bend into the left knee. We take that right ankle and place it on top of our left knee. And then from here, we bend the elbows, place the left elbow on top of the right one this time, and then wrap the hands around. On an inhale, we lift the elbows a couple of inches into the sky, and then exhale, we send them back down. We'll do it one more time. Inhale, we lift the elbows up, and exhale, we drop them back down. Good. And then from here, let's unravel our arms and unravel the legs. Let's reach up on an inhale with our arms and then fold over our legs. Roll yourself back up and then start to engage your core here as you lower yourself inch by inch all the way down to the mat, and then release when you're ready. Let's take those knees into the chest once again and just give yourself a hug here. You could rock the knees side to side if that feels good in your body. And then let's release the knees. We drop the feet to the mat. Move the feet out so that they're about hip-width distance apart, and then press into the feet on an inhale so you can lift the hips into the sky. And you could take a supported bridge here if you prefer by just placing a block underneath your hip bones. But if you're in this active version, think about sending those hips higher into the sky. And then everyone gently release the hips, send them back down to the mat. Let's now extend those legs out. We're going to extend the right leg and then take the left knee into the chest. Once again, just hold this position for a breath and notice how it feels. And then we're going to adjust ourselves, so we'll take that left knee a bit more out to the side so that it's almost in line with our shoulder. Notice what shifts in your body as you do so. Let's bring that foot into the sky, keep the left knee bent, and then reach on the inside of your left inner thigh, and then grab hold of the outer edge of that left foot. So we're doing a half happy baby here. Think about pressing the hand into that foot to bring the left knee a bit closer towards you or towards the ground. Now let's bend into that right knee so we can place our left ankle on top of our right thigh. And you can stay here for a stretch, or you can lift the right foot off of the mat and grab hold of your right hamstring to bring the knees a bit closer towards you. Good, and then from here, maintain the legs where they are. We're just going to tilt the legs over to the right side. So the knee or the left foot can rest on a block here, or you can place it on the ground if you can twist all the way down. And then if it feels good for you, you can turn the head over to the left side. Allow your body to relax in this position and breathe into any spaces that might still be holding some tension. Now let's bring the legs back up and we'll repeat on the other side. So we'll begin by extending that left leg out and then bring the right knee into the chest and hold it for a moment. And then from here, we take that right knee a bit more out to the side so that the knee is aligned with your shoulder. And then with that right knee still being bent, we send the sole of the right foot into the sky and then reach on the inside of that right inner thigh and then grab hold of the right foot on the outer edge of the foot. As you do so, press that hand into the foot to try and deepen the stretch. Good, and then from here we bend into that left knee, take the right ankle, place it on top of that left thigh, and you can stay here, or once again, you can grab hold of your left hamstring and pull the legs a bit closer towards you. Now, keeping the legs exactly as they are, we're going to just shift our legs and bring them over to the left side. So once again, you can use a block to bring the floor a bit closer to you if you want the additional support. And once again, you could turn your head over to the right side if you like. Let's bring our legs back to center and let's extend the legs out. Let's reach up with our arms overhead. And on an inhale, let's take one final stretch here. And then exhale, release. Bring your arms by your side and come into your Shavasana. That's all for this flow. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know how this was for you in the comments. And if you want to stick in your Shavasana a bit longer, feel free to do so. But otherwise, I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day and hope to see you at the next one. Bye for now.